Good evening, America, and welcome to this Just the News, Real America's Voice special report, Restoring Law and Order. We want to thank our partners at AMAC for joining us in this crucial conversation tonight. We're going to dive into the fight to restore law and order across our nation, from holding powerful elites accountable for the Russiagate saga to tackling rampant crime in our nation's capital under President Trump's new initiatives. While the left seems to be ignoring crime in our nation's metro areas, President Trump is looking to do something about it, and he's already succeeded, particularly in the nation's capital, where crime is suddenly down since the National Guard and federal officers were put on the street. Now, President Trump has promised to bring law and order back to other streets across this country, and tonight we'll ask, can accountability for past abuses inside federal law enforcement and bold new policies in cities around this country restore trust in our government and the safety that our communities are supposed to have in this great nation? We have a powerhouse lineup of guests tonight to break it all down. The chair of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board and former Congressman Devin Nunes, the man who unraveled so much of Russiagate and many of the abuses that followed it. He's going to be here to do a deeper dive into that scandal and to see if there'll be anyone in his mind finally held accountable 9 years later. It's hard to believe it's 9 years later. We'll get to him in just a minute. Also joining us tonight, a man who proved that you can use the power of your office to make a country or a state safer. Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares will join us to talk about President Trump's D.C. crime crackdown and also what lessons Virginia's successful crackdown on crime can bring to that. And also a man I'm excited to have on the show for the first time, Congressman Pat Harrigan. He's going to weigh in on both the crime crisis and Russiagate accountability. He's a veteran and a man who's been a really powerful player in his first few months in Washington as a freshman lawmaker. And finally, AMAC spokesperson and candidate for governor. You know him well. He's a member of our posse, Bobby Charles. He'll tie it all together in the end segment today. But before we get to all of those great guests, I want to bring in my co-host for the evening. Usually we have AMAC CEO Rebecca Weber here with us, but tonight we're joined by a special guest, Senior Vice President at AMAC, Charles Tecz. Charles, great to have you on. Exciting conversation ahead tonight.
That's right. And thanks, John, for having me. So our members, millions of common sense, law-abiding seniors, have a simple, expectations: equal justice and safe streets. Law and order isn't a slogan to them. It's the difference between a city you can walk in at dusk, and a city you have to avoid after lunch. So tonight is two things: accountability for past abuses and resolve in the present. That just doesn't come back unless the powerful are held to the same rules everyone else, and unless leaders are willing to restore basic public order. So in D.C., the stakes are immediate. The president has asserted federal authority to establish and stabilize the Capitol, and he's pushing a comprehensive crime bill to end the revolving door and put victims first. It's a statement that the nation's capital will not be a billboard for chaos, and it raises a question every American deserves answered. When will we finally back our cops, prosecute violent offenders, and protect families, riding a metro or walking to church? Accountability matters too. The Russiagate saga wasn't just, a food fight in Washington. It was a breach of public trust by people who don't even seem to care about the will of the people. So I'm eager and I'm excited to discuss what accountability really looks like here tonight, John. So thanks for having me.
It's a great honor to have you. Listen, AMAC played such a big role in the last couple of years of this election that played out in November 2024 in getting this message out to the masses and getting people motivated to say, we are voting for change, and change they got. And President Trump, I think, had a really simple recipe when he ran, and he's employed it. The first is you're going to restore trust in the FBI and the Justice Department, which was damaged over the last decade of weaponization, because we're going to punish those who did it, and we're going to get politics out of it. And then we're going to go in and fix these cities, starting with the nation's capital. And 8 months in, that prescription is working just fine. All right, I got a perfect first guest, because without him, we wouldn't have known half of the abuses that occurred in Russiagate, Ukrainegate, and Spygate, and all the other different controversies where we saw our nation's spy and police powers abused. I can't think of a better way to kick off this conversation. All right, joining us now for a second straight night, a very special guest. He's the chairman of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, the man who unraveled Russiagate and so many other fake scandals in Washington, and now the man who has brought truth to social media. Yes, he's the CEO of the Trump Media and Technology Group, the company that gave us True Social, our good friend, Devin Nunes. Sir, good to have you back on.
Good. 2 nights in a row. It doesn't get any better than this.
How about that? We're going to break the internet. Let's go for it. Listen, we had a story this morning, and it probably doesn't surprise us, but it does surprise us. We have the FBI Director, James Comey. We've proven that the FBI thought he authorized the leak of classified information. Same thing that they believed Adam Schiff did. But then we find out shortly after he finished wrapping up the investigation of Hillary Clinton on her private email server, he had his own private email controversy. The FBI was secretly using a private email account to facilitate an unauthorized leak. That's what the FBI documents say. Nothing happened to him, like almost everybody over the last decade of weaponization. But I'd like to get your thoughts on the legacy that James Comey has left the country and how we unravel it so that people trust the FBI and the Justice Department going forward.
It's pretty simple. It's 2 words: dirty cop. This guy was a dirty cop. Now, I'm not sure did he learn some of this from Mueller, J. Edgar Hoover. I think Mueller has some answering to do also because of that whole witch hunt, whether or not he had all his faculties with him or not. But, this is, it's really destroyed the reputation of not just FBI, but all of the big intelligence agencies, because it's led to, I think, fears amongst many people, what many people secretly believe, that Washington, D.C., if they want to, they can listen to you, they can frame you for a long time. I remember growing up, I really, was proud of the FBI. I knew people, I have, family that served. It's very sad, actually. And now the key is what can be done about it. So it'll be interesting to watch how these investigations roll out. John, I think you and I know that there's plenty of crimes that have been committed here. We made about a dozen criminal referrals back when I was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. So the more this evidence that Director Patel and Bongino find, what Tulsi Gabbard's finding, John Ratcliffe, and not to mention some of the old information that was my information that our committee had uncovered that was held back for so long. That all is starting to see the light of day, and now it's really about, how do you get justice?
Yeah, that's key.
Devin, if you had, let's say you had a magic wand and you could make one reform tomorrow to prevent something like this, FISA, ICIG authority, leak penalties, what would that be?
Great question. And it's actually not that we need reforms of anything. The laws were already on the books. These people broke the law. And what you had was dirty cops who buried it. There was plenty of, and there still is plenty of laws on the books that these guys can be prosecuted under. Now, part of the problem has been that, Durham, I think, did some things really good, some not so good. I think probably Garland had his thumb over him and only let him look at the second and third tier people, but he did get to the bottom of quite a few things. But then when those people were brought forward, they were basically slapped on the wrist or let go by the whole DC justice system, which is a whole nother problem. So the larger problem we have, Charles, today is not so much that you need more laws on the books. You need people to actually pay for the crimes that they committed and be held up in a court of law. But that leads to another problem, that the courts have become so partisan and states have become so partisan. So, for example, now you're starting to see it. Good luck for a Republican to have a fair day in court in New York or Washington, D.C. or in California. And so I think that's the problem, is that the jury pools have been corrupted. The judges have been corrupted. So when you start to let things go, like what started happening, and it happened even before the Russia hoax. If you really look at and these are investigations that I was involved in, hiding of the bin Laden documents after the raid and the killing of bin Laden. Those were hid from the American public for political purposes. You had the attack on Benghazi, where that was a whole lie, a whole scam. Many of the same people that were involved, by the way, John will remember, our old friend Mike Morrell was involved in many of these scandals, including the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. So It's really about applying the law fairly and having good judges and not having dirty cops.
But, you know, our AMAC members go and read testimony that Morell basically admits, you know, partially we released the memo to air Russia's activities, but it was partially to help Joe Biden, and nothing happens. So a lot of them are also asking, when, you know, you're uncovering all of this as Intel chair, how much resistance did you face, not just from Democrats, but from your own side?
You know, back in the day, you know, you try to let those things go from your mind. But look, look, at the end of the day, the Republicans stood with me, maybe reluctantly. We had many, and I won't name any names, but we had a few senators, well, actually one who is deceased now, a few Republican senators that were pretty nasty towards me. But I have to say that in 2017, the Republican House members did stand behind me. Now, they could have stood behind me more. They could have been more helpful. But I was happy when the cavalry arrived to help. You had guys like Jim Jordan and Trey Gowdy and others that came in to be helpful once we started to uncover this and unearth this. And I have to say, I mean, one thing we didn't talk about, I mean, another big problem here is and this is probably as big as the judges and the dirty cops, is the media. You know, the other gentleman on this program here, John Solomon, you know, he was one of only a handful of people who covered this story and actually tried to get to the facts back in 2017. There were very few people, and even to this day, you know, it's still about the same. John, what would you say? Maybe 20 or 30 real kind of journalists and talk show people that actually know this issue. But you know, the cavalry never really came in. It maybe started with a dozen or so, built up to maybe 3 dozen. But where's all the other? You still have these fake news guys that got Pulitzers. Like they're still writing. They ought to be hanging their head in shame, going and finding something to do, maybe move to a foreign country, you know, do something, because you ought to be embarrassed of yourself. Your kids shouldn't be embarrassed of you, your parents, your family. These are despicable people. And, you know, you hear President Trump say it a lot about fake news. And President Trump gets the credit today for developing the term fake news. But that's even fake news. It was actually Obama and Zuckerberg from Facebook that started using fake news as the term as to why Donald Trump won, that led to what? Led to people being kicked off of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all of those, which is what led me to ultimately leave Congress, so that not only was the fake news, but then when you run it through a funnel of going to people through Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and then when you don't have the Republicans or conservatives' alternative views on there, you can damage a country really quickly. And I think that's why you see so many minds in this country that have been poisoned. It's been a lot of actors here that have led to the poisoning of minds. And then you get zombie people. And I say that because, you know, being, you know, from California, spending also time in DC and time in Florida where our headquarters are, you see the homelessness in California. And then you see, and what do? They vote for the same people over and over again. The fires can burn down the cities. You can run out of water. You can see more and more homeless on the street. Crime can be outrun. You've seen cities like San Francisco and Oakland. I mean, Oakland's like a ghost town today. You would never think about going to Oakland. I don't think you think about going to San Francisco or Chicago. And quite frankly, Washington, D.C., especially after COVID, and John, you know this, became very, very dangerous. I didn't even feel comfortable going to Washington, D.C. after COVID. I'm actually looking forward to getting back there. I'll be back there next week for the intelligence board meetings. And I'm looking forward to just see, because a lot needed to be cleaned up. And I hope that I'm going to be impressed, because it was getting worse and worse and worse over time.
It feels different. Devin, got about a minute left. I want to ask you, we've exposed, because of your great work, all of I think we're going to learn about Russiagate. There's a few things left, but we got it. We know how bad it is. Is it time to treat the Ukraine impeachment as the second Russiagate and declassify the whistleblower complaint and all the other evidence? It seems to me that the same playbook was run 3 years later.
Yeah, well, it's all the same conspiracy done by the same people. So, I said from the very beginning when Schiff brought this whistleblower out, John, you may remember, I said,
Yep.
what whistleblower? And then we find out, well, he had talked to the whistleblower. And then you had the corrupted, inspector general that was involved in all those shenanigans. So there should be a lot of data from the inspector general that should all get declassified. All the meetings of this so-called whistleblower, because in fact, this guy wasn't a whistleblower. He made up a phony story. And the reality is that Schiff and the fake whistleblower and all the people that were involved in this, they cooked this up when they knew that the Mueller witch hunt was going to fail badly. Because remember, we had just gotten through the Mueller witch hunt, John, I'll never forget.
Right.
And then right on cue, like, oh my God, we have a whistleblower, we have a whole nother scandal, Trump and Ukraine this time. It's Ukraine, not Russia, it's Ukraine.
Yeah.
But, it kind of fit the nice narrative at that time to just keep tying Trump to Russia, Ukraine, dirty oligarchs, all of that. And then the reality is, John, you'll remember this, the only person that actually colluded with Russia and Ukraine at the same time, at the same moment, a lot of people forget this, Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, when he was claiming that me and others and Trump and all these people were going around getting information from Russians to dirty up elections and all of that, well, it was Adam Schiff who actually, he thought he was calling somebody in Ukraine that had information on Trump and Republicans, but the fool actually called to Russia and talked to pranksters that were actually playing a joke on him. So the only one that was caught red-handed doing what he accused everybody else of doing was Schiff. Both Ukrainians, he did it all at the same time. Thought his motive was to call Ukraine, but he actually ended up getting duped by Russians. And then outside of that, the only people we know that worked with Russians was the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democrats.
Yeah. Tonight on this show, it's the beginning of unraveling that and looking at Ukraine impeachment as the same pattern in practice in people that we went through with Russiagate. Mr. Chairman, Mr. CEO, Mr. Good Guy, Mr. Truth, Devin Nunes, thanks for joining us today. What a great honor to have you on the show. Thanks so much. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, a man who proves that if you start applying the law, you make your state safer. Virginia Attorney General Jason Myers has an amazing story to tell on what he learned in Virginia and how it can apply to D.C. and other cities. We'll have that right after these messages. But first, during the break, go to amac.us/justnews, because when you choose a 5-year membership with my good friends at AMAC, you'll save up to 33%. By the way, I'm a 5-year card-carrying member. You should be too. It's just $1 a month, or a little over $1 a month, a small investment to help hold Washington accountable and support a movement committed to preserving America's future. Join now. Go to amac.us/justnews and become a member today. We'll be right back.